Welcome back to Duckman Cycles at VW Garage. I'm your host, the Duckman. We're back today with something a little bit different in my video, something that I haven't really done before. Usually I do stuff of a technical nature, but this video is going to be something a little different. Last week I actually dropped off some old photos that belonged to A-Bomb 79 that I had to run over there. And they've been sitting in my shop for a couple years. They were part of another project, but that's another story for another time. But they ended up in my possession and they got lost. And I moved my office twice in a period of about 6 months. I mean, it was, again, another story for another time. It was not good. But in that time, his photos got misplaced. They were put into a file, they were put into another file, they were put into a box. They made their way finally to my workshop area that I have here at home. And it took me a little while to find them, but I finally found them, and I wanted to give them back to him, and I gave them back to him. And you probably saw, if you've been watching his videos, the photos of he, his dad, and his grandfather. And he only had one photo of all three of them together. And I felt so good that I could get that back to him. And because I knew it was special to him, I went ahead and had it printed out on a wooden placard so he could hang it up in his shop or in his office or wherever, because it's something that means a lot to him, so I wanted to make sure I did something right. But I figured today that because of that, I'm going to share a couple photos. So let me go ahead and show you some of my stuff. Now, I don't know where my love of Volkswagen Beetles began. Now, I don't know where my love of Volkswagen Beetles began, but here's a picture of my brother, my grandfather, and I back in 1985. And I remember when that photo was taken because I said, hey, Dad, let's take the picture in front of the Volkswagen, because the Volkswagen actually meant something to me then. And that, I believe, was a 1968. It was my dad's last Volkswagen that he owned. Seeing my grandfather out of the house was kind of a remarkable thing because that man never went anywhere. I mean, he never went anywhere at all. And to see him out of the house, it was remarkable because he was always home. He always was home or stayed near his apartment building. He never went very far. And my brother Eric, you probably saw him if you were watching my other video last week over on my other channel. He's the guy with the long hair that took the drive with me to go see my dad on Dad's birthday. And yeah, that's my grandfather. Unfortunately, he's long gone now. He's been gone for about 15 years. It's been quite a while. I got a picture of my dad here, and I believe he's working on that same car. And it's also probably around the early 80s. There he is, and I believe he was swapping out an engine right there. And I think my stepmother took this photo. And he said, go ahead and prepare lunch. I'm going to change the engine into Beetle. And she said, you're going to do what? Because her father was a mechanic, and she knew an engine swap, doing it himself, would be a couple-day project. But Volkswagen Beetle engine, while I'm waiting for lunch, yeah, you can do it. I do it. Here is my first 1969 Volkswagen Beetle. There it is. I got that sucker back in, I believe it was fall or perhaps winter of 1996. It might have been in the beginning of the year, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was around February-ish. In 1996, so 22 years ago, almost 23 years ago now, I got that Beetle, and that's the way it came home. Just like that. And it looks pretty solid, but it really wasn't. The back fenders were all fiberglass and cracked to hell. The electrical was a mess. There were giant holes in the floors, the heater channels were gone, and the running board fell off just as you see it. So we started cutting and welding on that thing and taking things apart. I had it running the first day. Being that I was only 19 years old, it may seem like a huge task to some of the other guys, and I call them the millennials. If you watch my tech session videos, one of the guys got a Beetle, I think it was also back in February, March, and he just finally got it running yesterday. And, of course, I had to help him, but I had it running, my Volkswagen, that is, in one day. I put a battery in it, I cleaned out the carburetor, cleaned out the points, I set the timing on it, and without help, I got that car running and driving in my yard the next day. That's right. I cleaned everything up and put it all back together myself. I had experience working on small motorcycles and mopeds and lawnmowers and that kind of thing, and if you know, the Volkswagens really aren't all that different. So we started taking it apart, started filling out the rust, replacing body panels, you know, sanding down anything that was rusty. I didn't know anything of phosphoric acid at the time. This car would have been a great candidate to start dipping, because it was quite a mess. I don't have any pictures of the engine, though. I remember I painted it yellow and black, but no, it just occurred to me I don't have any photos of that at all. Here we started grafting the floors in, and most of that is my dad's work. He decided he wanted to do it in galvanized, because galvanized doesn't rust quite so easily. And most of what he was doing wasn't welding. He was actually a pop rivet guy. And he's really skillful at putting those things in, and he made quite an organized, riveted car. Nowadays, I wouldn't do that. I would properly weld everything back together, but yeah, he reconstructed the car with all pop rivets. And then in the back, he did the same thing. And you see that battery side floor pan, it's remarked such a weird situation. Usually the spots that rust down on Volkswagens, this car didn't have that much problem with. Okay, more primer was getting there. And I was doing a lot of sanding on the primer. And then I got the bright idea, I wanted to remove the front axle beam. So I lifted the front of the car up. And my dad watched me do this. You know, I'm 19 years old, and I'm kind of a big guy, and I always was kind of a big guy. I was about 200 pounds, and I wasn't quite 6'3" yet. I actually continued to grow until I was about 23, but I was right about 6 feet tall. And I lifted the car up with some jacks and set it up, and then I unscrewed the beam and pulled it out. And then I lifted the car up and put it on top of that stand that I built. And my dad watched me do that from inside, and he was just like, what the hell are you doing? You lifted the car? I was like, well, you know, it's a Volkswagen. It's not that heavy. But yeah, I lifted the front end up and dropped it right on that stand. At the time, back around 1996, I had this Volkswagen hat that I made, and I still have it. It has a Volkswagen emblem right in the front of it. It's actually the emblem off of the hood on the '69 Beetle. It was kind of ratty, and it has some, just looked like somebody drilled a hole in it. So what I wound up doing is drilling more holes all the way around it, and stitched it to the front of a hat. And the hat was rather cool, and it got me a lot of compliments. Everybody was like, where did you get such a really cool hat? Well, you know, I made it. Well, I've still got the hat, but I was wearing it in a record store. And I forget the name of the record store, but, you know, back in the days of Blockbuster Video and Sam Goody and all those other, you know, music shops that were around, there was this just hot chick, I mean, just this hot girl that came up to me, and she said, do you have a Volkswagen? I said, yeah. I said, I've got a '69 Beetle at home that I'm working on. Oh my God, I've got a '66. We should hang out sometime. Yeah! So right away, I went ahead and gave her my phone number. And I mean, I got home, and I was about an hour from home where I was at, but I mean, I got home, and I was home for about an hour or two, maybe, and the phone rings, and it's her. I can't remember her name to this day, but she started talking to me for a little while. You know, what do you want to do? We should do something tonight. What the hell? And then she goes, okay, let's go ahead and work out the plans. You know, here's Dan. And, you know, who the hell's Dan? Dan was her boyfriend. So, yeah, she just wanted more friends, I guess. And, you know, I had a Volkswagen, so she related to me. But this was Dan's Beetle, and it was a 1966. Beautiful car. And he stopped on by and let me have a look at it. I think this was the day that I met him. And I think it was the same day I met her, as a matter of fact. Because, I mean, she moved so quickly. Just trying to meet friends, I guess. I don't know. And at the time, I was growing my hair out. And I had just taken a shower and I didn't condition it. And it was a bushy mess and I didn't really get it tied back yet. But you could see all the hair on that skinny guy right there. Look at all that hair on his head. And I just noticed that in all of these photos, she's always standing close to me and not to him. I wonder what was up with that. Maybe there was something there that I didn't know about. Another picture again with she and I. And I'm underneath the deck lid. And I mean, look at all that hair. I don't have that much hair anymore. Even if I grew it long, there'd be just patches of it where it's thin. Yeah, I just don't have that kind of hair anymore. So there's she and I right there, and she was a good-looking woman. I mean, she just had a build on her. I mean, those clothes might look a little weird, but I mean, that was what was in style for the day. Here's another picture of my '69 Beetle. And I remember when this was taken, actually, Dad wanted to take a picture of the car with the doors open, and I said, you know, why don't I hang out the windshield? And he thought that was a good idea. So there I am with, once again, the hair growing out. In fact, that was when I started to grow it out. It was a little more bushy in the other photo. Yeah, there it is. Right around 1996. In fact, that was the summer of 1996. Right about that same time, at 19 years old, my dad and I went to a family wedding, and we discovered that Florida weddings, you show up with flip-flops and shorts and a cowboy hat. who the hell dresses like that? Well, you know, that's Florida for you, especially down the other end. But we dressed in suits. You know, so we got really nicely dressed up and we went to the wedding. And afterwards, we went to a local bar, a place where my dad had frequented to see some of his friends. And it's 21 and up. At 19 years old, I walked in wearing a suit. The bouncer stepped out of my way and let me walk in. And it was like the music stopped in the place. So you hear the record scratch and the music stopped, and everybody turned around and looked. You know, who the hell are these two guys coming in the suits? And it was like something out of a movie. But it was so weird. My dad even said, he let you in without checking your ID? I said, well, yeah, I just walked right in. And he said, he must think that, like, we're some kind of mobsters or something, and you must be my protection. You know, nobody wanted to mess with us that night. I mean, they didn't even make me pay the cover charge. No, I walked right in that bar. I don't know if I showed this one, but there's another picture of Dan's Beetle. 1966. Really cool car. You know, we got some date stamps on the back here. Yeah, I can't read them. All rubbed out. Okay. And lastly, I have a picture that describes why Duckman Cycles has the name Duck, or you know, why I'm associated with ducks. And it actually has a lot to do with this photo. This is me at about 20 or 21 years old. And I mean, look at that look. You see that long hair back there all tied back? What a mess of hair that was. Had the long sideburns to go with that. Yeah, I was something else. And this ugly, ugly dining room tablecloth. Just what a mess. You see the bird sitting there? That's a Quaker. And his name was Duckworth. And prior to me being known as the Duckman, or even having ducks, I mean, I never even thought of having a duck. Duckworth was my little boy. And he was a found bird. My dad actually encountered him outside. He must have escaped from somewhere. And my dad went and just picked him up. I mean, he must have been somebody's pet. But he picked him up and he put him in the car and he brought him home. And that bird immediately bonded with me. Just immediately bonded with me. Unfortunately, the poor little guy died. I didn't have him but maybe a year, and he just didn't make it. I don't know what happened to him, and I really missed that little critter. He was something else. But anyway, I ended up making a AOL screen name, Duckworth something, you know, and I forget, it was a long time ago. AOL, I mean, that tells you how long ago it was. But after that, everybody started calling me Ducky or the Duckman, and then I got the ducks because of being called the Duckman, because I had a friend that bought a bunch of ducks for his yard. When he couldn't take care of them, the first thing he thought of was the Duckman. Maybe the Duckman wants a duck. And that's how I got Skeeter and Skeeter's sister Jumper. And Skeeter's still with us to this day, and that's been 16 and a half years now. I still can't believe it's been quite that long. And she'll be 17 this St. Patrick's Day coming up next year. So it's just 6 months away from that. Anyways, yeah, how about that? Look at that long hair on that guy, all tied back, that bushy mess. Holy shit. I still can't believe that myself. Wow. I got it grown to about here, went just past the neckline of my shirt. It got down to about there, and my hair grows like cotton candy. It's not quite the tight curliness of like a black person's hair, but it's more like just poofy, and they call them Jew-froze, and I mean, that's really what it is. Even though there's not a whole lot of Jewish blood in the family, I still was the one that wound up with that wonderful hair. Check that out, little Duckworth and the fuzzy guy. Well, anyways, I hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope you liked a little bit of the background. This is a very different video than what I usually shoot, so I'll get this uploaded somewhere in sequence whenever I have a day off. We have a nasty storm coming up this week, tropical storm as a matter of fact, forecasted to come through about Tuesday or Wednesday. It's going to put a big dampener on my plans of getting my Volkswagen Beetle ready for the car show that's coming up on October 20th. So I'm probably going to upload this video somewhere in that time frame because I'm just not going to be able to work on anything. It's the best interest just to keep those videos rolling. I'm trying to get a video out every day. Sometimes I still skip a day, but for the most part I get between, 5-6 videos a week, and sometimes even more than that if I'm uploading on all my channels at the same time. So like, comment, subscribe, pluck the little dingle belly down next to the subscribe button so you get updates every time I upload a video. Don't forget to check out Duckman Cycles VW Garage on the Facebook group page. Go ahead and like it, join the group, get in there, post your comments, ask questions about my projects, ask questions about your projects, learn something, look at other people's projects. There's a lot of things that are going on there. And that Facebook page, amongst all the Facebook pages that I'm active on, that one is actually one of the more active. And we've got about 400 members right now, and it grows every day. Every day I'm approving several more members, sometimes as many as 20 a day. And it grows it's been growing really fast, and I got to thank you guys for that. You guys are the ones that put me there, and you guys are the ones that are making this happen. So when I call it Duckman Cycles group page, I always say we. It's not my page, it's our page. So thanks very much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate everything that you guys have done for me. I really appreciate you guys sticking around, and I appreciate all you new guys that are watching that just came on over from A-Bomb79's channel. He's got a lot of great stuff too, and I've known that man since 2007 myself, so it's been quite a while, long before he was even on YouTube. And actually, as I mentioned in the other video, that his very first video on YouTube is on my channel. It's actually one of my YouTube videos where we worked on one of my motorcycles together. So anyways, thanks for watching, you guys. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.